Welcome to Stretford Paddock. Today's show is brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Now more than ever, we rely on the internet, whether that's streaming shows, streaming podcasts, speaking with loved ones, or of course, watching the football. Now more than ever, with our rapidly growing digital footprint, security is a huge concern. Thankfully though, Surfshark have got you covered because Surfshark VPN have got access to servers in loads of different countries, which means that you can change your virtual location to a place where the sport might be free to air, or there are different broadcasting rights, or even just being able to log in to your services from back home if you're abroad. Surfshark VPN also encrypts your online connection, making sure that all of your activities, including streaming matches, remains private and secure. And even if you're not just streaming football, whether it's the latest Netflix show or something on Amazon that you've been wanting to watch, you can watch it no matter where you are. And also, there's plenty of region exclusive stuff that you can get access to by changing your digital location. And by connecting to the optimized servers provided by Surfshark VPN, you may actually get faster streaming speeds and reduced buffering, so you're not going to be waiting ages to see if that last minute shot actually went in. Overall, Surfshark VPN offers you the best flexibility, security, and accessibility to all the streaming and shows you could possibly want, making it the best choice for streaming. And currently Surfshark have a phenomenal deal on. Using the code Paddock, which is easy to remember, you get 4 extra months for free and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, 4 extra months for free and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go and check out the link in the description. And thank you once again to Surfshark for sponsoring the show. Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is the Paddock Podcast. I'm joined by Ronaldo, Brown and Jay. As always, my name is Joe. We've got a lot to talk about today. There's been connections with Bryan Mbeumo. United have made and held talks with him. Also, we've had a here we go on Matheus Cunha. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. There's also a few different things to look at in terms of the manager's current situation, Garnacho's current situation. A lot has happened in the last week at Manchester United. Absolutely loads. But Jay, how are you?
I'm good, man. I feel like I'm already over Bilbao.
Really?
Yeah. Move on.
Done.
As Amarim said, that's past season now. Let's just move on. Let's look forward, not backwards.
That barely even happened.
Yeah, you know.
Try and find like a silver lining in it. Yeah. Almost like it puts increased pressure on the recruitment being good. It's kind of like forced to like factory reset that everyone wanted. Because there were a couple of people that were like saying that after when we lost, saying it would have been good for the Champions League money. But part of it thinks, right, it kind of forces United to almost like tear it all up.
Do you feel like again. I'm not trying to pretend that I'm glad or relieved or in any way not gutted that we lost, because obviously I went over there. I was definitely, it doesn't matter if you went over there or not. You're still gutted to lose the final as a United fan. But I feel like after the FA Cup final, and I was as guilty of it as anyone. Me and you were on the Wembley way, Joe. Like, we're gonna get behind Ten Hag, absolutely loving it as United fans, because you get carried away, don't you? You just won a final against City, and part of me was thinking things aren't that bad, even though we'd watched a load of dross during the season. We were like, you know what, we've beaten Liverpool, we've beaten City, we've lifted a trophy, things aren't that bad, we're not as far away as we need to be. Now, there's no misconceptions, there's no denying it, we're awful, we are terrible. We're just, it's amazing to me that Aston Villa somehow managed to be a little bit worse than us.
Yeah, and they can F off as well.
Albeit with this decision that we'll get into in a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
So I just feel like now there's no
situation.
Yeah, there's no sugarcoating it, is it? United have had an absolutely horrendous season. It needs a massive, massive overhaul. Half measures isn't going to cut it. And I don't think anyone I've spoken to or anyone associated with Manchester United can be under any illusions around that. I just don't think they can.
No, completely agree. And it seems as though on that front, United are keen to make improvements and spend on the squad very quickly. We're not wasting time. We're not going into the summer working out our sort of transfer targets. We've already made big, strong approaches for multiple players. Obviously, at the front of that is Matheus Cunha, who we'll talk about in a minute. We seem to have had conversations with Liam Delap, amongst other teams. I think that's fair to say. It's not just Man United in for Liam Delap, so that one's up in the air. The one that we've seen today, though, the forward movement that we're seeing is with Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford. Very exciting player. Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook today with the report that Manchester United have been holding talks and have held talks with Bryan Mbeumo about a potential transfer, looking at around £50 million sort of fee. That seems to be what Brentford want for him. And obviously there's a lot that goes into that. Firstly, though, we haven't spoken about it on the channel at all because it was this afternoon that these reports have come out. Joe, I'll start with you. What do you make of these links and him as a player and the idea of him coming to Man United?
Well, look, I've liked Bryan Mbeumo for a little while. I know Roddy's a big fan. We're going to get his opinion, obviously, very, very shortly. I think if I know there's a big if he were to join Manchester, or he was to join Manchester United, him and Cunha and a fit Ahmad, and all of a sudden, there's options there in attack. Where me and you were talking upstairs earlier. Part of the problem this season, we haven't had any options. I've persisted with Garnacho because there's been a lack of other options. Obviously, Marcus Rashford went out to Villa, and I think he had to go on loan to someone because it obviously wasn't going to work with him and hammer him anymore. Højlund, his form, his confidence, whatever you want to call it, fell off the cliff. Xerxes got injured, although he wasn't exactly giving you loads of goals, but he was an option. He got injured, and we just had, we were relying on a 17-year-old Cheeto, albeit at points, and you shouldn't have to do that. And I think all of a sudden you've got Cunha, you've got Mbeumo, you've got, Cheeto's a year older, you've got Ahmad hopefully stays fit. It's looking better, isn't it? It's looking a bit more like okay, because I always feel like any decent football team, any decent side that wants to get up the table, wants to challenge near the top end of the table, has options. You have players that you can go, okay, let's rest him, let's bring him in. All the top teams do that. Yet with United, it feels like a lot of the time it's been like, who's fit, who's not fell out with the manager, right, you're playing. And now, if we can get a player who does get you goals, does get assists, whenever I've watched Brentford, he's always looked lively, he's always looked like someone who can cause people problems, then yeah, bring him in. He's got that experience as well. And even though he looks about 40, he's about 25, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he genuinely looks like he could be my older brother, and yet he's 20 years younger than me. So I'm all about him personally.
Yeah. He does look old. I think you realise when you link with him that there aren't many like bald Premier League players, are there? Do you know? Because everyone's usually in their teens or early 20s or mid 20s. For him to be like bald, like you said, it puts 10 years on him. But he's a young guy. He's 25 years old.
It's not just the fact he's bald. It's also he's the way he's shaped.
Yeah.
Do you think? What's that?
I love how diplomatic
what's
you're
that mean?
being.
Say that in a way.
I love how like you're fully aware that this is
say.
live, and I like the fact you're just trying your best.
He's like bald. He's aesthetically, he's bald, and he's got a bit of a funny hunched like body shape. I think.
It's alright. You're allowed to say
just
what you say.
Come on, get it out.
That's that.
Yeah.
No,
But
what?
So
way of describing it is
okay.
A bit. Do you know what I mean? Look, not podgy looking. I
love that. I love it when he's trying to say it.
There was something else in there. Semi-podgy looking.
Not semi-podgy looking was the exact words.
Is what you've just called him there.
He's a bald fat lad with a beard. Hey, no, I know you're not saying that. We're not saying he's fat. Obviously, he's not.
But to me, he's one of my favourite players.
You love him, don't you? I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that.
People wouldn't believe that with how I've just opened up. Anyway, but I'm a huge fan of Bryan Mbeumo. I think he's on that verge. 25 years old, and he's coming into his own now, and he's like just pre-peak. And I think he's going to explode when he goes to his next club or he makes his next move. And he's pretty much exploded as it is. 20 league goals and 7 assists for Brentford.
Him and is it Visa putting up York and Cole numbers?
Yeah, they've got 3 players with 10 plus goals in the Premier League this season.
Kevin Shard
as well, yeah. Shard, Vissa and Mbeumo. Arsenal don't have any. Just for
is it Havertz 9? Is
reference.
that top scorer?
Yeah, United don't have any.
Saka's got 6.
Yeah.
Maybe Declan Rice.
Just to go through some of the numbers, because obviously he's a well-known name, but not everyone knows sort of who he is, what he's about. I think you've encountered that misconceptions around him before on social media, Ronnie, people saying that he's not a hard worker and he doesn't track back and he's a luxury player and all that. Well, let's just get into some of the numbers. So obviously 20 goals this season. One thing that you could maybe look at as a little bit of a not concern necessarily, but he's sort of quite handily outscored his XG, which means the questions will be on next season. Can he continue that? Can you continue being an above average finisher? Maybe he's just an above average finisher. You don't need to read too much into it, but that's one thing to consider. 7 assists as well. Again, this time though it was the other way around. It was 9 expected assists, so he's in the ballpark for he's creating good chances for his teammates. But this is one thing that I think will be of note for Man United. 31 tackles won, which puts him in the top 8% of players in his position. 179 duels won, which puts him in the top 5% of players in his position. His recoveries is fantastic as well, in the top 5%. And the possession won in the final third, so pushing up high and winning the ball back, is in the top 2.5% of players in his position. So he's good on and off the ball, which I think will be crucial for Manchester United. If you want to work for Ruben Amorim, you have to work hard. And he does that. And I don't know, a lot of people don't know what type of player he is, but he's that type of player. He can do a little bit of everything. He's good on the ball and he's good off the ball as well.
Yeah, he's not even just like he's had his best season output wise, but his output, if you do look since he's arrived in the Premier League, he's always been at least solid.
Yeah,
when
he's just kicked on especially when as you're probably going to say, when they lost Ivan Toney.
Yeah,
he's shown the ability to succeed with playing with Toney and then playing with a complete different type of striker and Visser as well. People think that he's just a transitional player almost, like he thrives on the counter when there's space. He obviously does have. That's probably where he is most dangerous, but he's more than good enough on the ball, especially with his creativity and the one with a left foot that he has, to be a threat against teams that are sitting in as well.
Do you know who he reminds me of? And they're not obviously no two players exact. No, I was going to say Saka. He's got a little bit of that, like, he does the right thing all the time. He's a very reliable player. Obviously, he takes risks as well. Yeah. He's not just but he's very good off the ball. He works hard. He's good on the ball, like you said, very good left foot. They're not the same player, obviously, but they, when I see him play, I see a little bit of Saka in him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Ronnie said there. He picked up on what I was going to say, but when Brentford lost Toney, when he got spat, I was looking at him thinking, hey, Matt struggling. And whenever I watched him, he sort of steps up.
Yeah.
I don't know, he just doesn't seem phased. He seems like he's just proper relaxed. You know, when you're watching him, he just seems to be just like, nothing seems to bother him. He's just like almost enjoying his football. And obviously we've lacked that, United, because everyone looks like they've got a big sort of black cloud above their head at the minute, and you know he might end up playing like that once he gets there. But it's good to see players like that. Obviously, the numbers speak for themselves. So I know it's a big if with any player at the minute at Manchester United, because we don't have the money or the cachet we used to. If we could get him, then that'd be a very, very good start to the transfer window, bringing in two players that immediately walk into our team and make it better.
And again, you're looking at 50 million quid-ish, 55 million quid. It's in that ballpark of every time he has a bad game, you're not going to hear the fee. Yeah. And obviously, if he's just terrible and he's, can't get a game for us and he's dropped and he gets 3 goals in his first season, he's going to get criticised. But it's not going to be, we spent 65, 70 million on this. 55 million, that's just what players cost. If you want to get a first-team player for any Premier League team, pretty much you're going to be paying somewhere in that ballpark, unless you're one of those teams that just doesn't spend money at all. Most teams have got players in there who are 50 million-ish, and there's not really a lot of attention on him, and hopefully he can do the same, go under the radar a little bit in terms of pressure at United. We need that. I
thought he'd be cheaper because he's got 1 year left on his contract, but Brentford have that option to extend, and also sometimes a 1 year left doesn't always matter when there's like a player like Bryan Mbeumo, where there's going to be a bidding war. So it just drives up the price anyway. Because United aren't the only ones that are in from. I think Newcastle have identified him as like probably one of their main targets, and I think the fact they've just qualified for the Champions League actually does help that. Because we was talking about this yesterday when we're looking at our rivals and the players that are around, the teams that are around us. We're looking at likes of Villa, Newcastle, probably Tottenham next season, Chelsea. Even go probably as far down as Brighton. He was wondering whether it would have been better if Villa got Champions League football than Newcastle. I think Newcastle, because we beat Villa yesterday, Newcastle got Champions League football, and I think that might enable them to pip us to Bryan Mbeumo.
Yeah, I mean, and also as well, all he has to do is turn the saturation down on that Brentford kit, and it's a Newcastle kit.
Yeah,
so that's easier as well.
I get it. I get it, and I understand that United are in dire straits and everything, but if he's got a choice, he should come to United. I still think that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, people might go, Newcastle got Champions League football and they're doing better than we are, but United's just a far bigger club than Newcastle. It just is.
Yeah.
If that matters anymore.
And also the other thing with him as well is one good, one bad. He can play in a variety of different areas. If there's an injury to Cunha or Ahmad, you can put him on the left. You could even potentially play him down the middle again. Similar with Cunha, they don't really play there. But you can play him down the middle in a way that you can't play Garnacho down the middle, for instance, or whatever. He can do that role. One negative is 5 of his goals this season are penalties, which he wouldn't get at United unless Bruno Fernandes leaves, obviously. So you're probably losing a bit of output there. But for me,
Bruno, man, give him.
Yeah, like he did yesterday with Eriksen.
I thought he was going to give it Cheeto, Because Cheeto was stood on the penalty spot, and I was like, my kids were getting all excited, like Cheeto going to see Cheeto's first ever goal. And I was like, well, you know me with penalties. I was like, let's not start getting carried away.
Yeah. He takes it and misses.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried, and then obviously you give it to Ericsson, which I thought was a nice touch, and I thought, how have we actually got to the stage in the season where we're giving people penalties? It's like, what is going on here? How has this happened?
It was weird how bad at Villa were, wasn't it?
Yeah, they was.
I know they're all going on
yeah.
about like this
they
decision
were.
that's
Watkins.
cost them Champions League football. They were just shit.
It was bizarre. And me and you were chatting, Joe, earlier as well, and like, Martinez did only the one thing he didn't need to do, or he shouldn't have done, is the one thing he did. It's like, if he'd done anything else, it wouldn't have been as bad.
At that point, you just let him go by and hope he misses.
Yeah.
Or just make him, or try and like,
Yeah.
put him off almost from behind.
Yeah. But he just did just don't wipe him out, and you won't get a red card. And if it's 11v11, even if he scores, you've got a decent chance of getting a point against United. Come on.
Yeah.
But he just.
Yeah, I was thinking that, because even if Højlund goes and scores, he's still 11v11, and as Villa, do you not back yourself to get back in the game 11v11? Do you know what I mean? It's just,
I'd rather be a goal down than same score 10 men.
Yeah.
Or drawing 10 men. Definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
And it was just he's always got a little.
I thought VAR was going to when it intervened. I thought
blew his whistle.
Yeah, I know. But I thought they were gonna. When you saw, is it clear goal scoring opportunity?
Yeah.
But you know what?
Everyone said, "Is it really?" When it's Rasmus Højlund.
They can't just look at Rasmus Højlund's finishing ability.
No,
that's not. It's
Do
not.
you know what's funny though? Was watching the Villa bench, because I was watching them. Honestly, I don't know who the guy is on the Villa bench with long hair, but I think he ended up getting booked. So I'm surprised he didn't get a red
coach
card.
guy.
Yeah, because he absolutely lost it. Like, was screaming, was running up and down. Emery was obviously going mad. They were screaming at the fourth official. Like, they were going berserk for about 5 minutes. Even after the goal, like the decision had gone and they made the substitute and all that, they were still going berserk. Like, you could tell they were just raging.
It's it's Villa's set piece specialist, Austin McAfee.
Right, well, he was losing his mind, and I think he got booked in the end, because I saw the ref walk over and just give someone a yellow card on the bench. I presume it was him, because he was going absolutely ape. It was ridiculous.
That's
like
absolutely lost it. Just finally on Mbeumo before we move on, because obviously this seems to be like the initial contact, a show of interest on him. Is there any worries you'd have with him, Remy? I know you like him, and overall you think this is a good idea. What are your reservations, if you have any?
It's the increased pressure of playing for a better and bigger club. Sometimes I think that's the main thing. Obviously, so much of football is psychology, and it's just about whether he's able to kind of perform the same way or the same sense of freedom, because obviously he's probably the main man at Brentford.
Yeah. When
you move to a bigger club where I think the games are a little bit more high stakes, I think other than that, in terms of his ability and quality, I would have no worries about him.
Doing it in the Premier League, again, I know some people think that's an overrated phrase or Premier League proven or whatever, but I do think it just minimises the chance of a complete failure. And I think worst case scenario out of him, you get 8 league goals next season, which is what he sort of has been doing up until this year. And I would take that. If Ahmad, Bruno, Cunha, whoever our striker is, all get between 8 and 15 goals next season, none of them are having an explosion. But you're pushing 60 goals already. Like, that's without the contribution from anyone else. Xerxes, wing backs, centre backs from set pieces, all of that, and already that pushes up probably 10 places up the table, certainly 6 or 7. So yeah, I think come in, be consistent, get goals, and whoever it is, whether it's Mbeumo or another person, I'm glad that we are going for not just Cunha but another attacker and a striker as well, by the sound of things. I think it's going to, United clearly seem to want 3 attackers, which we need. I'm glad they're not holding back on that front.
100%. I'm more concerned about some of the players that we've got, not the players that are coming in. I'm concerned still. Obviously Højlund's a big issue there. Again, yesterday, I know he had a disallowed goal. The crowd are on him again. It still seems like he's suffering lack of confidence. Also, as well, next season has got to be a huge one for Mason Mount, one way or the other. Yeah. He needs to step up now. He's had 2 seasons, and we've seen glimpses of it, but we need to see the Mason Mount that made us part with 55 million quid, because we haven't seen that yet. I'm not saying we won't. I'm just saying next season it's either his last season at United, or we finally see what we've expected or we wanted to see.
I thought he was decent yesterday.
That's what I mean. He's all right. Do you know what I mean? And like, we've seen that, but he needs to get going. Yeah. And I think next season, I'm not saying he won't, I'm saying he needs to do that next season, because Mason Mount should be starting every week and performing every week. Do you know what I mean? That's what you want to see from him. He's got it in his locker. We haven't seen it yet, nowhere near consistently. And I know he's been injured, I'm ignorant of that fact. But I'm hoping next season we'll see it, because I still feel like the jury's out on him. I still feel like 3 seasons in, or 2 seasons in, we're still waiting to see if we're going to see the Mason Mount we saw in 21, 22, whatever it was for Chelsea.
Let's have a look at some other potential sales then, because there's a few that were confirmed. I think Lindelof, Evans and Eriksen all confirmed yesterday to be leaving the club. Not a huge amount in terms of wages. I think Eriksen was on the most out of them lot, around 150,000 a week, which again isn't cheap, but we got him on a free, so it sort of offsets that a little bit.
Is that why I think when you are a free agent, you better leverage in terms of getting a better wage packet, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's just PSR wise, FFP wise, it's just saving the club so much money that you can typically get another 50, 100 grand on than you might normally. Eriksen, Evans, Lindelof, all leaving. There's a few questions that have gone from being not sures to looking very possible. So I'll go through the obvious ones first. Obviously, there's Rashford. United want around 40 million for him. We've been over that many times. Sancho, Chelsea could still, not even agree to sign him. Just stick to the deal that they've promised us for about 25 million quid. Anthony, another one who, when he left United in January, probably looked to be worth about 20 million. Now United looking for more like 35, which I think, after what he's done over in Spain, is fair enough. He's absolutely smashed it there.
Yeah.
And if you want to spend 35 million on a proven La Liga player as a La Liga team, he would be a decent one to go for. Then we're into that kind of like middle ground where you're never quite sure. Rasmus Højlund is in that for me. I think obviously the manager doesn't fancy him particularly. But it's just whether someone will sign him. There seems to be some interest from Italy.
What makes you say the manager don't fancy?
I think
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just curious what gives you that impression.
The fact that one of our major targets this summer is a striker, is Delap or whoever. I think, and also, I think the way that he's spoken about him before, the way that he played Mainoo up front, he has tried.
That was a big sign to be fair.
He has tried different ways to not have to play Rasmus Højlund. Yeah. Some of that might just be form, but I do think a mixture of what's obvious to see and then those little things of, trying to sign a new striker, playing non-strikers up front to try and get him out of the team. And there have been some reports, haven't there, that United would be open to selling him. I think that if we can get rid of him, we probably will.
Do you think that's the right move? You're usually the guy.
Yeah.
The reason I'm not trying to put you on the spot. It's just you're the guy. Your reputation is well deserved. Of you back players probably more than anyone on this channel. Do you think there's still a player there, or are you losing faith?
I think if there ever was a player there, it's probably not there anymore. I think in a different environment, if he'd have come through at a different time or with different players around him, he could have been a decent player for Manchester United. If we'd have spent 40 million on him instead of 60 million or 65, whatever it was, he could have been a decent player. But I think you add everything up, the fact that he's had to play through this form no matter what, the fact that we've had no one better than him, we can all have a go at Rasmus Højlund. Xerxes and Garnacho have been no better this season either in terms of output. I think he's still got double digits goals for us.
Who?
Højlund in all competitions. Let me just double check that.
We got 6 in Europe, so I
don't think he's got 20 goal involvements. 21, is it? Garnacho.
Højlund's got 10 goals for us this season, which again isn't fantastic, obviously, but it's not much worse than anyone else who's around him in those positions. And I think that's a little bit unfair on him. Garnacho got 11 goals, basically the same thing, and yet Højlund's the one that gets all the criticism. There are obviously many other reasons for that, but I do think he's probably done. I do think he's probably done. In another world, I think it could have worked, but I don't see how he can come back from where his reputation is and where his performances have been this season, personally. Do you?
My only concern with Højlund, with turning this around, is when players have had a bad season before, like Marcus had a bad season, didn't he, when Magnet came in, and then the next season he had his best ever season. I think people would look at Marcus and go, okay, he was terrible last season, but 2 of the last 3 seasons he scored 20 plus goals. Højlund's first season he was good, but it wasn't amazing.
No.
It was like he didn't make the team for the cup final. He went, 15 Premier League games without a goal, whatever it was. So it wasn't perfect, but it was decent. So it's not like he's got a season where you go, okay, he was amazing that first season. This isn't a sort of an outlier. Do you know what I mean? That's what worries me a little bit, is that they might look at it and go, well, even his best season at United was only okay. Maybe it's time to move on. That's my only worry with him in terms of how the club look at him, because I don't know if there's anything there where you go, we know he's much better than this, we know he's mint. I don't know if there is that feeling there towards him, so I think you're right.
I think about Højlund, I don't think gets spoken about enough is, sometimes I notice, I don't think his work rate's very good.
Right, okay.
Never gets mentioned. I think everything it's always talked about is on the ball stuff and sometimes his movement. But sometimes when I watch him, I don't see a great work ethic there. I think he's not a great press of the ball either. And I think sometimes a lot of the reason, especially people talk about the structure, but sometimes teams play out quite easily just because his pressing's horrible. Kind of like half-arsing, jogging it. Sometimes he doesn't do enough to kind of shepherd the team one way. Sometimes I do watch and I notice I'm like, he doesn't work that hard off the ball either.
Yeah, I think he's in a position where he's either allowed or been unable to stop his lack of confidence and his poor form affecting his demeanour and how he's playing. Like stuff like that. I do think his pressing has got worse over the last 12 months, and I think he's sort of letting things are a bit shit for me at Man United, I'll just jog it a little bit. I think that's crept into his game a little bit. And maybe that's unavoidable. I mean, I don't know if anyone saw the interview with Anthony today, talking about how he was feeling at Manchester United. He was crying in the interview, talking about how he didn't eat for days on end, how he would, all the things.
That's what United does. I'm not knocking him for crying. I'm just saying that's what playing for Manchester United does.
Exactly.
Now.
All the things he was going through while he was here, and how he sort of fell out of love with football. He spoke to his brother saying that I don't like playing football anymore. And obviously it must be hard to perform when you're feeling like that. Anyone who's ever had any job knows that if your mental health isn't good, if you aren't enjoying your environment, if you're getting criticised by your boss or by the fans in this case, it's not the easiest time to perform. There's a reason why confidence exists, why momentum exists in football. It's easier to play well when you've just played well for the last 6 months. The next one is easier than the first one. So I do understand that a little bit, but I do agree with you. When you watch Højlund, at the moment, for whatever reason, he isn't doing enough off the ball at all.
Yeah, and I think you made the point, Ronnie. I can't remember you talking about a few weeks ago. Sometimes at United we do show almost too much patience and faith in players when you have to sometimes go, this ain't working.
Cut your losses.
And is this the time now? While his stock in Italy, I believe, is quite high still, or high enough to get, maybe half your money back. Is now the time to go, let's move on from Rasmus Højlund? Yeah. Or do you give him another season to see? Because I think if he has another season like this one, he might end up having enough of football altogether. He might have broken the poor lad.
There's a comment here about how he didn't get enough service and how he was overlooked. And I do think that is partly true. But the other thing that it goes into that as well is, if you're firing, if your teammates rate you, they will give you more service. It's part of the reason, and not the only reason, and part of it is because players around him are a little bit selfish maybe. But I think if he was maybe a little bit better in training, a bit more of a reputation or whatever, I think he probably would have got a little bit more service as well.
I noticed yesterday, throwing his arms about a lot. He looks. Yeah. There was one where I think he fizzed it across the box and there was no one there, and he's thrown his arms about. And then a minute later, someone throws the one across the box and he ain't there. And I think it's not a good look like this. Yeah. It doesn't look like a happy camp with him and his teammates, and that worries me a lot as well, because it's obviously getting to him. The whole situation, the service, all the rest of it. And if your confidence is low, if you're not enjoying your football, if you're not having that connection with your teammates, I mean, it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it, really? Yeah. There's not any positives at the minute for him, and I do, feel for him, but this is where we're at.
Do you know, obviously, I'm looking at the names there on the screen, and I think I don't know if I'm skipping ahead and absolutely bombarding the structure that you've structured this. But anyway, I seen there's a name on there that is a bit of a conversation to be had, because he's not played a single minute in the last 2 games.
Ugarte.
Do you think? I think Ronnie is a lesser man would be saying, "I told you so." But Ronnie's not going to go.
I'm not going to say.
I know you're not. I know you're not. I said a lesser man. I didn't say you would. I said a lesser man would say that. Because you had your reservations about him.
Do you think there's anything untoward? But to be fair, I had reservations about Ugarte, but I think on the whole, the season he's had, he still played better than I expected. I can't really do the. Yeah. I told you so thing. I just still believe that the quality of player he is, if United are going to be decent, he's a squad player. He can't be starting week in, week out. And I think people might think that's harsh, but I think that's the reality. I'm not saying he doesn't have his uses. I'm not saying he's rubbish, because he's not. But I think do you think it's quite telling that the last couple of games he's not played a single minute, and it's come after the absolute disaster class he had at West Ham. And that kind of screenshot of him being on his knees, and when obviously Wan-Bissaka's gone and assisted. Who scored? I can't remember. Was it Bowen? But
Bowen did score against us.
Yeah. Do you think he could be one of those that's out of the door?
I'd be shocked if he was.
He was sold by Amorim at Sporting Lisbon, and apparently Amorim won a title before Ugarte arrived. Didn't when he was there, and then won a title once he got sold.
I mean,
I know. I said this yesterday. And
teams get better when he leaves. I think that's for me. That's correlation rather than causation. I actually think the criticism he's getting for his performance this season, I think it's a bit over the top. I don't think he's been bad this season. I think defensively, his numbers, his tackling is exceptional. I think he covers grounds and reads the game really well defensively. I don't think he's particularly good on the ball, but I do think that he's an average player on the ball, and maybe one day United will be better than that, but I don't think we are now. I don't think he makes us worse when he plays. I think that the partnership with Casemiro and Casemiro's improvement...
I think we look better going forward when he doesn't play.
I don't. I'd have to look more at what we do in those games, personally.
The better football I've seen is usually when he doesn't play.
I do feel like I'm always loath. I know it's been a season, but I'm always loath like the first season for United player. I always think got to give him a little bit of leeway, and he's not been a disaster. I feel like next season is the season where you go, right, you can start assessing him and going, okay, is this working, is it not? I think we've seen enough of him to at least stick with him for another season. Yeah. At least. I'm not saying he's smashed it, because he hasn't, but he's been decent, I think.
I think he's been decent
and I think
as well.
To get rid of him this summer, for me, would be a bit too sort of reactionary. I think as well, it starts making everyone ask questions about what the fuck are Ineos doing, like what is going on here. Yeah. You got rid of McTominay because you wanted to bring in Ugarte. You got a manager in who's worked with Ugarte in the past, and then already 8, 9, 10 months later, whatever, you're getting rid of Ugarte.
Donny van der Beek.
It stinks of just nothing has changed. Yeah, it's back to the Donny van der Beek thing. It was like you just don't know what you're doing. Like, this is I know, but this is how people are going to perceive it, because like Ineos just don't know what they're doing. I always think with United player comes to United. I know PSG are a big club. I know Sporting are a big club. They're not. It's different when you come to United, and obviously this dysfunctional United team. I want to see him in his second season at United. Yeah, I think that's when I can start. I'm willing to give Mount a third season. I'd certainly give Ugarte a second.
Yeah, and if we're 100% honest,
I would.
I think he hasn't been helped in that position as much as he should have been. No. I do think that Casemiro, whilst we've seen an improvement from him in Europa in particular, in the Premier League, Casemiro isn't pulling his weight in terms of his running. He isn't. And Amorim and Casemiro essentially accepted that and changed the role a little bit so that he didn't have to. I do think that at times Ugarte is being asked to do more than he should be, which is probably one of the reasons why he's been brought off a lot in the 60th, 65th minute, partly because of the running. And I do think there's a case to be made that he's maybe not quite fit enough, Ugarte, at the moment, or this season. I think a good pre-season will help him. He's used to the speed of the Premier League, or is aware of the speed of the Premier League now. But I don't think he's had a bad season.
I think when he gets sub 60, 65 minutes, I don't think it is most a tiredness, fitness thing for the most part. It's usually when we're chasing the game.
Well,
I think he
invariably we're chasing the game every week.
He seems to be the first one that Amorim's subbed, and it's just gone back a while when United need to go and
because he's not going to offer much in the final third, is he? But I think in terms of a destructive player, he's unlike anyone else at the team.
I think Amorim's pissed about the West Ham game.
Yeah,
sometimes managers can be like for when a player's just like had such a performance that's pissed you off that much, you kind of like.
Yeah,
you don't play him the next game, and it happens. Do you know what I mean?
No, we've seen that over the years, haven't we? With managers.
Yeah, Fergie would have probably done it. Yeah,
Fergie, was not a performance, but I remember Fergie when Louis Sarr got injured in the warm-up one against Portsmouth, and Fergie just had enough of him. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I was like, that's the end of you. Oh, remember? Here's one for you. Tuan Zabi in the semi-final. Was it? No, not Fosu Mensah in the semi-final against Everton when he gave that penalty away. Yeah, and Van Gaal was just like, right, I'm done with you. Yeah. He was like a mainstay until then, wasn't he? And that was it. Yeah. So like, it was just like, that could have cost me the game. Yeah. You're fucking done. So maybe there's an element, maybe he's running right. He was proper annoyed at that. We'll give him a pre-season and give him next season, and then we'll sit here in 12 months' time, we'll decide whether Manuel Ugarte.
I think that's the fair way to do it. I think there was reports, wasn't there, that Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada from their City days had a kind of 2-year policy. You a new signing gets 2 years. If you've not done it, you're gone.
That should be. I like that. I do, because I think historically, some of our best players, their second season has been the one where they've actually started showing us what they're about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The first season, especially when they come from abroad, has been one where you're like, really? Yeah. And then, not everyone, but a lot of players, and then you go, actually, the second season where you go, fucking hell. Yeah. This is why, Sheringham wasn't even from abroad. His first season, if you remember, well, you won't remember, you weren't born, but it wasn't happening for him. And you're like, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? And then he's arguably his third season where he really kicked on, but I think it'd be a bit premature.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Ugarte, he's only just turned 24 as well, so it's not as though he's someone that's
very, very
supposed to be.
Can I say I wouldn't sell him?
No, yeah,
personally, I wouldn't sell him because I've
said
said Ugarte is good enough and he's got traits to his game that make him a useful squad player. Yeah. I just don't think he's the quality to be starting week in, week out in the middle of the park for United if you want to be good.
Sorry. Yeah, if we had a hard running, ball playing midfielder next to him, I think he'd be absolutely fine. I think if someone like strapped one of those electric bike engines to Casemiro, that would be fine.
Is that legal?
I don't know if it is legal.
Is there anything in the rule book that says you can't strap an electric bike engine to someone? Oh, it's paragraph 3 there.
There you see, unlucky. But do you know what I mean? Someone who can do, I do think that Ugarte at times is getting. You see them teams on the counter attack, and it's kind of him being that line there by himself. I think I like Casemiro, and I'm impressed with his resurgence this season. But I think we all know, obviously, even medium term, he's not going to be the answer. I think if United could sign someone who's like a Wharton or someone like that next to Ugarte, I think that works.
Just don't quite work the way we need them to.
No.
Do you know, there's not one where you go, if you put Mainoo and Ugarte together, that's perfect. Or if you put Collier and Ugarte, or Casemiro and Mainoo, do you know what I mean? There's not one where you go, that's the key, that's the one. They're all slightly flawed, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's the major problem we've got at the minute.
Yeah, exactly. Another player that is worth mentioning, obviously, we saw Garnacho get sort of seemingly iced out by Amorim the other day after the Europa League final. I don't know if that was a fit of anger, whether that's a confirmed and sort of backed up position that Man United have now that he is definitely leaving, or whether he's going to be sold no matter what. But he did say, or seemingly said, Garnacho, find a new club. What do you make of that, Ron?
There were 3 players he omitted last, which made it seem like he didn't want him anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Was it Garnacho, Onana and Luke Shaw?
Luke Shaw, yep.
So, people think the Luke Shaw one's definitely overdue. But, yeah, it looks. I think he's gone. Especially with the fact he can command a really good fee and he's pure profit on the PSR. I think after he said he was never going to be able to mend it with Amorim after what he said after the final.
And his family and his missus on social media, I know you can't control what your family do, but surely he's got some say in that. Yeah. Surely you'd be like, delete that, don't do that.
Especially when he's your agent. It's not like some lad who's like just off doing whatever and you never see him. You work together in a professional capacity. Yeah. If my dad was my agent, or my family member was my agent, and they put that on their Instagram, I'd fucking punch him. Yeah. I'd be like, what are you doing? You're making us both look like idiots here. Like, I'd be so mad. Do you know what I mean? And I think, like, if you're representing me, you have to echo the things that I say and that I want to say on social media, not sort of run off and do your own thing. I'd be fuming if that was me, unless I agreed with it.
If you assaulted your dad, you'd be off his channel before he is.
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Yeah. Mate, I'd punch him in the leg, maybe. But
he's, he's a star on his channel now, Sunshine.
Exactly,
don't get any ideas about his station.
After his Europa League final
Exactly. I've heard nothing but good things.
But yeah, I think people forget as well, and obviously I don't want to now be like, Garnacho was always a problem. But he got dropped when Rashford did.
Yeah.
Like that, I'd forgotten that until
I've dropped him, didn't it, for being late for training and stuff, or late for meetings.
Late for meetings in
maybe there's
pre-season.
a little something there that's not quite been dealt with the way it should be. I like Garnacho, I've stuck up for him a lot in the past, but I agree with what Ronnie was saying. And look, that interview, awful. The comments, go to the manager, have a conversation with him. I get all that. Yeah. If you're frustrated, don't be doing it in the media. And also, your missus and your agent, stroke brother, / brother, sorry, just saying those kind of things. It's untenable for me. Yeah. He's done. And I know the manager said, he was asked after the game yesterday, does Garnacho have a future? And he was very diplomatic and sort of, honest in the way he did it and quite protective of the player in certain degrees. He went, we're going to Malaysia and he's coming with us, or he's asked, is he going to come with you? He's like, yes, he's a Manchester United player and we'll be taking over the squad. But I get the impression that he's done.
Yeah, I think he is. And I think
probably rightly so.
He's going to be most likely the biggest outgoing of the summer. I think you're probably looking somewhere between 40 and 60 million for him. And I don't know if anyone else pushes that, except Mainoo. There was a report, again, I don't know if it's a recycled report, that everyone is for sale or anyone can be sold or no one is safe, however you want to phrase it. It was in the MEN. It was reported 6 months or so ago in the last transfer window as well. He seems to be the one that, weirdly, seems a bit safer than Garnacho, but has played far fewer minutes under Amorim than Garnacho. Is there a worry there for Mainoo? How would you feel about him being sold, and do you think it's likely?
Well, always got a slight worry because it does seem at times like he's struggled to truly fit into Amorim's side. He's been tried as a false 9, as a 10, as a 6 and as an 8, I think. He's played almost everywhere, I think, unless I'm getting that wrong. He's had some good moments. Obviously, the goal against Lyon, well-taken goal. That looked like it was going to save our season. Obviously, it didn't, but I thought when he came on for Mount at the Etihad as well, he did very well. But Mainoo had such a good first season. I was a bit worried that next season we might not see him the same levels. The injuries didn't help him. Change of managers didn't help him. I still love Mainoo. I still think he's a phenomenal talent. I still think there's a role for him in this team. And I still think we're better off keeping Mainoo than we are getting 50-odd million for him, which is probably what we're going to get. I don't think that's good business for me. I think you keep him. If you are going to have to sell Garnacho, I get it, because there's other reasons, just what's going on the pitch, off the pitch stuff as well. But I definitely think there's a player in Mainoo. And I just think because he was so good in that first season as well, everyone's sort of gotten like, the expectations gone through the roof. He went from making his debut in November 2023 in the Premier League to being player of the match in the Cup final that same season, playing in the Euros final, all at the age of 19, 18, then 19. And now he's 20. People acting like he's past it. He's still very young. Yeah.
What do you think the optics of United selling 3 academy graduates in one window will be?
I think it's terrible.
Who are the 3, sorry?
Rashford, Garnacho and Kobe Mainoo.
And it's all kind of different levels of academy, innit? It's like the guy that's played 100 odd games for us, the guy that's been the club for 10 years in the first team, and the kid that's played a season.
Can you see United doing that?
I can't see Mainoo going. I mean, why would you? I just think at some point you have to be there for the player as well a little bit. And I know that you can't always do that, but we give people so many opportunities. He's had one brilliant season, one slightly underwhelming season, but he's not been terrible this season. He's not been bad. He's just not quite worked. Surely you get at least one more season. Surely he's 20 years old.
The big difference between Kobe Mainoo and those other 2 players you mentioned as well, there is no hint or sniff of Kobe Mainoo's attitude being anything other than exemplary.
Yeah.
We never hear any reports of him not doing what he's asked to do in training, not being willing to do what he's been asked to do in terms of where he plays on the football pitch, kicking up a fuss. There was one report from Chris Wheeler that he was asking for a contract of around 200k a week, that then we had other journalists saying that isn't the case. But in terms of his attitude, there isn't any question marks there, whereas with Garnacho, and Rashford, that's kind of the reason why they're almost out the door. Yeah. So both of them got dropped for the derby because of their attitude, and only one of them got himself back into the team, and now he looks like he's out the door because of attitude. There's none of that with Kobe Mainoo. He's a good footballer, he's a good lad, and I think he can do a job. And he's that talented. I think you find a role for him.
And we don't need to sell him. We should be able to get 100 million between Anthony, Rashford, and Garnacho. Yeah. I think that's easy.
Giving up on a 20-year-old as well, who's like you said, had one phenomenal season. That's insane to me. I think there's.
He should be hopefully, because I always think, what's the PR angle? What are United trying to push? What's his team trying to push? I think with Garnacho it's a bit different because, you think, right, if United decided to sell him, they would. I'm not going to say go out and sort of publicly try and slander him, but they're probably going to do less to protect his image than they would if they're trying to keep him. But with him, he came out and said those things publicly. That's not United PR. He came out and criticised basically the decision of the manager. With Mainoo, I do wonder, is there a little bit of, they're in contract negotiations at the moment, are United, again, just taking the foot off the positive PR machine, just in terms of getting him a deal that's 110 grand a week rather than 170 grand a week? Who knows? And maybe once he signs that deal, it will all feel a bit rosier for Kobe Mainoo again. I don't know. Weird political things happen at football clubs that we're not privy to. So I'm hopeful that this is just don't worry about it. He'll sign a new deal in the summer, and then we can go back to worrying about who else is, no good, because he is.
The good thing for Kobbie Mainoo as well, in terms of PR, is if you stick a camera in front of him, he just comes across really sound.
Yeah.
Sat there playing with his dog, going on about how much he loves his dog and just like how happy he is.
Yeah,
he's not like someone who's sat there sulking, acting like a bit of a nana, is he? He comes across really well whenever you see him in any interviews. And I just think, I love the kid, to keep him, in my opinion.
Absolutely. We've got some super chats. Ryan Belmont, who's been a member for 21 months, says, new season vibes and optimism will start hitting in a few weeks. We'll get there, gents. And Mbeumo feels like a Mane-esque signing. Would be a great pickup. I think that's a great comparison, actually. I like that a lot. Mane when he went to Liverpool from Southampton. Colin Wilmot, who's been a member for 43 months. See him all the time in the chat as well, of course, Colin. Do you guys think it's an ideal time to trim the squad numbers down with no European football and our current financial problems?
Great shout out.
Yes.
Someone was talking to me about this yesterday at the game, saying exactly that. Yeah. Do we need this huge squad? Do we need, when I say squad, obviously you need a squad, but can you get away with having, 15, 16 players that you rely on? And if you've not got more than one game a week? I don't know, maybe, yeah.
I think so. I think we can get rid of 7 or 8 first team players and bring in 3, 4, maybe 5 and be fine, I would say, personally. What do you think?
Ronnie? You can,
obviously I wouldn't sell Mainoo, but you do want quite a substantial squad. No Europe obviously alleviates that a little bit, but you do want a situation where all 16 players, where we talk about all the time, where the floor is still pretty high, where there's a massive drop-offs when players are injured, or you got opportunity to bring players on that are different and have a bit of versatility. But I think one of the biggest things that we have seen is the top end quality in the team needs to improve, and that's the forwards, and that's why we're trying to address it so heavily this summer. But if we manage to get enough money with the sales that we do, where it looks like so many people on the chopping block, I look at getting another midfielder, maybe another winger as well. Can't go wrong with probably another wing back. I think there's a lot United need to do in this summer window, and I wouldn't be against the squad of like 16, 17.
Yeah.
But obviously you think there'll be less opportunity for rotation because in Europe where you might have players that are not quite as happy. Is that why you're wondering whether?
Well, there was an article by James Ducker, I think, in the Telegraph that Amrin wants to reduce that squad size down to the sort of low 20s, low to mid 20s, down from about 31. So it does make sense. It helps everyone, allows us to clear more people out than we bring in, which on a typical season you can't really do, which limits the amount you can get rid of, and also stops there being that kind of unsettled dressing room when United could potentially only play 40 games next season, and we've been playing an average of about 65 or 60 or so over the last few years because the number of semis and finals and European competitions have been. So, you don't want a 28-man squad fighting for 40 games. That becomes difficult, especially if you don't have injuries.
I'm going to do it anyway. I almost used the L word, the Leicester word then. I'm sorry, Joseph.
Pathetic.
I know.
Could do a Leicester, imagine. Rishab Kumar says, rated Højlund once, but not scoring in 55 games as a 9 at Man United is criminal. 7/16 goals last season came in a 6-game run. 7 out of 16 came in a 6-game run. Fair enough. Rune says, training matter, but we've seen Martinez, Bruno, Eriksson constantly overlook Rasmus when he did runs behind or off the shoulder. No go out wide and lose ball. True. Callum Flanagan says, are we entering the same post-De Gea goalkeeper carousel as we saw with the post-Schmeichel era? Took a while to find the right guy. Yeah, maybe we are. And Onana's a play that we didn't mention, but again, you look at that 2-year rule that it seems as though Barada is keen on. 2 years ago, United signed Rasmus Højlund, Mason Mount and Andre Onana. I think Højlund will probably get another season. I think Onana and Højlund, if we can get buyers and we can get
Mount
replacements.
Will get another season.
I think Mount will get another season. Apologies, yeah. I think we can get a buyer and a replacement for Onana and Højlund. I think we'll probably.
They might. I don't know. They might have suitors as well in Italy or wherever. Like, yeah. I said a few weeks ago. I said I think Onana needed as long as he didn't do anything daft in the final, he'd be okay. I don't know whether you look at him in that final and go.
I don't. Personally.
I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't think it's clear cut that it's on him. But I
think the damage.
I know. I was with Maka and Maka was raging at him. But
I think the damage had been done. The ball got deflected from 5 yards out off Luke Shaw's arm. He's going. Onana's going to his left as the ball's coming across, as you'd expect. Then it goes back this way. He tries to come back again. He dives through the air, and 1 yard out, it gets touched in by Brennan Johnson. I think that's really hard. I think if you were a keeper that wasn't under loads of scrutiny, no one would question that. Yeah. But I think the damage has already been done with.
Fair enough. I'm not trying to sit on the fence, but at the time I wasn't like that's on Onana. I was more just fuming about the collective rubbishness of Manchester United's defence / goalkeeper involved in it again. I was just like, this is just a shambles that has gifted them a goal and obviously the trophy. So I don't know whether that was enough for the manager to lose faith in him. Maybe, like you said, Ron, just something in the fact he wasn't in the squad yesterday. I don't know. It's difficult to know, innit, what goes on with Manchester United. I don't know what Ruben Amorim's looking at. I don't know the funds that are available. I don't know what his priorities are. I don't think any of us would be shocked if Onana left. I don't think we'd be like, I cannot believe that's happened.
Asa with the super chat says, you're all overthinking it on Ugarte. We've won the majority of games he's played in, and Amorim dropped him for the final for more attacking threat. Then he played the same game, the same team against Villa. Potentially, yeah. Happy said, thank you lads for the great content in this horrendous season. Much love and respect. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching and enjoying. I bloody love it. So
I appreciate that as well. I got a lot of people coming over to me and Bilbao, and it was a bit annoying that so many of them were singing your praises, Joe, and even you, Ronnie. Which is, a bit rude, coming up to me and saying I love Ronnie and I love Joe.
Joe's Kindle says, am I mad?
Where in Bilbao around the stadium. Now, to be fair, they were all levered, so they're probably just drunk talking nonsense.
No. Or people say you're more honest when you're drunk. Or does Doucouré and a 1+1 make sense? Not for me, thank you. No. What do you think, Doucouré?
You know what's funny? I was in a lift with Doucouré yesterday. Got in a lift in City Suites and he walked in.
Is he coming to United?
Is City Suites a sweet shop and that?
Nah, it's like a apartment block.
Did you ask him?
No, I didn't ask him, but he did that thing of, it's really awkward when you get into a lift with someone you don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like you're going quite a way up. So I'm stood in the corner, he's stood in the corner, and he's doing that thing of, I know you know who I am. But like he looks awkward.
Going out of his way to sort of not look at you almost, like that kind of...
I actually asked him, is your favourite player Curtis Jones?
What did he say?
He just laughed.
Did you actually ask him?
No, I did because I was a bit waved. I did speak to him. I was like,
are you hungover right now?
A little bit.
When you walked in, I'll
show you a video after this. I'll show you a video after this. There's a video of me that's not great.
Oh, brilliant.
From yesterday. But yeah, I said to him, end of season. Yeah, and he was like, yes, season ended well. And I said, is your favourite player Curtis Jones?
You went after him like Jeff Shreves?
A bit.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's
Ronnie
crazy.
Chandler is in a Gary Cottrell.
Yeah.
In a lift with Doucouré.
Yeah.
What have you got to say to the fans?
We'll get the CCTV footage of that and we'll put it on as a members list.
I hope we can find that. Ross Murphy, member for 56 months and a mod on the channel as well, obviously.
Legend Ross.
Is Ross Murphy.
Top man.
It says, cheers Stretford Paddock for this season. It's been a disaster, but you'll still go again. Provide the content, the watch-alongs. Come on United, up the paddock. Thank you very much, Ross.
Love that.
Thank you for all of your hard work this season as well, Ross, mate, in the chat and in the comments, moderating the chat and everything. It's absolutely brilliant. We do really appreciate it, so thank you for that. And GGMU says, Mbeumo and Cunha 10s means Bruno is a DM. I think so, potentially. I think, again, depending on what injuries we get, him being flexible is a good thing. Let's get to Wally of the Week. Ooh. Who's our Wally of the Week? I'm happy to start if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a small thing. And I think, obviously, Arne Slot getting praise for this season is fair enough.
Right.
But the specific thing.
Are you carrying on your argument that you had with Robbie Savage, you?
No, I'm not carrying on that on. Although I did have an argument with Robbie Savage earlier today.
He met Robbie Savage today and they started arguing about who the manager of the year was. But it wasn't like an Aggie argument.
No,
it wasn't. It was good though because I love it. It was literally like, hello, we'll start arguing. And you were both like respectful. It wasn't like moody. No. But it was quite interesting because usually like when you meet someone new, you don't start arguing with them. And them two just started arguing. Like they knew each other for years as well. Yeah. It was like the argument me and you might have. It was just like, it was so weird because like we was sort of all sat here like, this is so entertaining, this is great stuff.
That was weird actually looking back.
I was very proud of the fact that you didn't go, oh, I'm going to back down because he's someone off the telly or whatever. You was like, nah, this is what I think.
He dissed my shoes jacket combo.
I mean, to be fair, I'm not backing you on that.
I dissed him for.
I was on Robbie's side.
Say my hair's better than yours.
No, I said,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
right.
he did.
Yeah.
I think it was a hair related thing maybe.
That was amazing though. That was a bit of bank holiday madness.
Yeah, that was good. But specifically the thing I'm criticising, that my one of the week is this whole thing of how impressive it is that he's won it in his first season. Keep seeing people say this. And you know what? Not just has he won the league, but he's to win it in his first season. And then I saw earlier on Sky Sports, they went, and he joins a very short list of managers who have won the Premier League in their first season. Just 5 managers have won the Premier League in their first season. Only 13 managers have ever won the Premier League. So nearly basically half of them have won it in their first season. And also, let's not forget, after your first season is over, you can never win it in your first season ever again. So you have 1 year to win it in your first season, nearly 50% of which have done that. And it's like, oh my God, the fact that he did it his first season. Basically, all it shows is he inherited a brilliant squad. That's what it is. Like, he's obviously done a fantastic job, but this whole, to do it in your first season, like so few others, basically 50% of managers toss a coin to work out whether people have done it their first season or not. Fuck off. Ronnie, Wally of the week, please.
I was tempted to give the whole United squad Wally of the week for deciding to put in arguably our best performance of the season when it didn't matter.
Yeah. We were really good.
We were really good.
It's the same old
I'd
thing,
love to have seen it against Tottenham.
If we play against 10 men, it's a relatively even game most of the time.
Yeah.
Like most of our best performances this season have been when we were against 10 men.
So good against 10 men.
We are.
If we could agree a deal where every opposition started with 10 men, we'd probably challenge for the top 6.
And also, the opposition aren't out of it. When they're on 10 men, it's not like, oh, well, United. No, it's quite even.
It's fair.
It's a more entertaining
it's like,
game.
Do you know when you're doing like...
Football is the winner.
You're picking 5-a-side or you're picking football teams when you're like a kid.
Yeah.
And there's like some dads and mums playing as well. So you have to pick it so it's fair.
Yeah.
That, like, us playing against 10 is just evening it up.
Yeah.
It's just fairness. It's like a handicap in golf.
Yeah.
You have to start with 10 men because we're shit. If we can just get every team to agree to that, I think we'll be all right.
We'll start a campaign for that. Sorry, who was your one? You said you were going to choose United. Did you choose United?
Yeah,
squad?
the squad.
Okay, that's fair.
Cop out.
Mine is Michael Brown.
Oh.
This fucking guy, man. What a whopper. Right, anyone who doesn't know who Michael Brown is, he used to play for, obviously he was at City, so he's bitter. And he was at City when they were shit. He was at Fulham, I think. He was at, I don't know, Sheffield United.
Yeah.
He was co-commentating on whatever he was doing on the BBC. And he said it yesterday when Morgan Rogers' goal was disallowed, right? The goal was disallowed. There was no VAR because the ref blew his whistle. The game went on. They didn't get the goal, obviously. End of. You move on. He was basically saying that United should have given them a goal. Like when Bielsa did with Leeds or whatever, where it was like there was an incident, he went, you go and score. He was saying that Manchester United should have gone, that Ruben Amorim, as if he didn't under enough pressure, should have gone, hang on a minute, lads. Let's give the ball to Unai Emery or to Unai Emery's team and let them get a goal. Because I'm sure no one would have kicked off about that. He was chasing Champions League spots if that had made them get the Champions League spot. If Ruben Amorim just decides to just give goals away. And I just thought, you can fuck right off with this idea. Yeah. Seriously, it doesn't make him Michael Brown anyway, because one of the worst challenges, if you can even call it a challenge, I've ever seen at a football match was when he went in 2-footed on Ryan Giggs and I think he got a yellow card. And now he's spouting shite about how United should give goals away in the sake of fairness. Fuck off. Would he be saying it if it was the other way around?
Nope.
No. Just a typical blue bitter twat.
And if Amorim would have told the team to give a goal away, you'd have just seen Ratcliffe with the little thing around his neck.
We don't give anything away.
Dragging him down the touchline into the dressing room just with a fucking cheese wire around his neck.
Players don't take kindly to that.
No. There's no way you could have possibly done that. That's just absurd.
It's insane, and it's like somehow you've twisted the narrative of the referee making a bad decision, which I thought it was a goal that should have stood, to it's United's fault. Yeah. It's the manager's fault. Yeah. How is it Ruben Amorim's fault that we didn't concede that goal? No. What are you on about?
Bollocks. Doc Rock says, with a super chat, thank you very much, mate, says, I hope we can all try and remember that what fan means. Fan is short for fanatic. We need to back the gaffer and the team, even when it all seems melted. That's the meaning of fan. Mahalo, lads.
Can I just say one thing, though, right? Just because United fans do get a bad rep and people say we're, deluded or we turn on players and the manager and all that. Before the game yesterday, Ruben Amorim was getting his name chanted. We've just lost the final to Spurs. We're fucking sat 16th in the Premier League table, right? Don't believe what you read online. There wasn't 73,000 fans there, but there was at least 70,000. There was a few empty seats, not many. Like, United have still had the highest attendance this season. We've still backed this manager despite watching absolute dross for much of the season. And by and large, we've been behind the players as well. So I'm not pretending United fans are perfect. We're not. But I think we do genuinely get behind this manager and this team. And we do turn up as well. And whether that's not just turn up at a game, but whether you're getting up at 4 a.m. to watch it as well. We know that we've got passionate, fanatical fans. And I think we deserve a little bit more credit. And sometimes the media go after United fans like we're all fucking horrible, but we're not.
No, I completely agree. Right, cheers, lads. Thank you very much for tapping
right,
up Ducore in the
well
lift
done for
yesterday, Ronnie.
Hanging on in there.
Always.
Well done, lads.
Can't let you down.
Well done, Jay. Good to see you as always.
Good to
Thank
see
you
you,
very much
brother.
for joining us at home. This has been the Stretford Paddock Podcast. We'll see you in a bit.